Well, welcome, Coach Garza. We are excited that you're here with us. We are honoring and recognizing some coaches throughout the state of Texas during Hispanic Heritage Month. And we are so blessed that you decided to join us and share just a little about your journey in this coaching profession. So if you would, please just tell us a little bit about you first.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you for having me. My name is Nate Garza. I'm currently the head basketball coach for San Perlita. I've been in coaching for about maybe 14 years now. I've coached previously at La Villa, and I started my coaching / teaching career at Los Fresnos ISD back in 2008, I believe. And I went to high school in La Jolla, so I graduated from there. Went to college at that time it was Pan American. When I graduated, that's when I got hired at Los Fresnos, and then I moved over to Brownsville for a time. And like I said, now I'm currently at San Perlita ISD.
Excellent. Now, what or who inspired you to get into this coaching profession?
I would like to say myself. The reason why I got into this profession, really, to be completely honest with you, is the love of sports. That's why I love sports, and I wanted a profession that involves sports. It wasn't until I was a young guy, just graduated college. I just know that I wanted to be involved with sports. It wasn't until once I got into coaching and a couple years after, and obviously working with great coaches and great mentors, that it taught me what the importance of being a coach really was, and how it's way more than just coaching basketball or football. How it's really about understanding the platform that you have, and then understanding that it's really about building relationships. Because as a coach, and you know this, you spend so much time with these student athletes, more than you are at home or with your own kids. So it wasn't until maybe a couple years into my coaching career that I started to embrace the platform that I had, and now I see myself as I guess you can call me a coach, but I see myself more. I think my primary job is to establish relationships with my student athletes, help them get prepared for a post-secondary education. And then I just happen to coach sports, and it's like I like to tell my student athletes, my platform is athletics, but my job is I want to teach them. If I can teach them how to work hard in athletics, and if they take that principle into their everyday life when they leave here, that they'll be successful at anything they want to do, whether at whatever profession they want to do when they get into college or whatever they choose to do. I'm not going to sit here and say I went into coaching right away and say because I wanted to make an impact in students' lives. It was because I love sports. It wasn't until a couple years later that I understood the platform that I had. And I love the platform I've embraced that platform, because I realize now that it's so much more than just sports. And I think that's my favorite part about the job.
Excellent. Now you mentioned some mentors. Who were some of those mentors that you had and helped shape you throughout your career so far?
When I first started my coaching career, I was at a middle school, Los Fresnos. One of the first mentors that I had, his name was Rolando Garzoria. He's retired now, but he's he's early on taught me, the importance about establishing relationships, and what the importance of being a coach was. And I've had so many mentors throughout my career, whether it's with a long-term relationship or I just meet him along the way. But he's the first one that I started to coach with. And then Joe Salinas over at La Villa also, and then here at San Perlita, I think I've met several people here, with administration and sorry. And then here at San Perlita administration, I think also here with my peer coaches that I work with. I've been here 7 years, and I think here I've been mentored to, not only how to be a better coach, but how to be a better human being and how to understand people in general, not just students, but just understanding people and the importance of establishing relationships.
Excellent. I know that the relationships that you build are lasting. And in that community that you're in San Perlita, I think that it's a very unique setting, very unique setting, and very tight knit. People that are from that particular community, they tend to stick together. You'll find a person here and there across the state, I'm sure, when you go, to conventions and things of that nature, that have never even heard of where San Perlita is.
Yeah.
So it's, and even people in the valley that, well, I've never been there. I have no clue what it looks like, or there's people there. I thought
you're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. And I think little by little, I think, people are starting to realize where San Perlita is, who we are, whether it be through athletics or another way. People are starting to realize, and there's more people that are starting to, realize where we are in the map, and I think that's a very good thing for our community and our students and obviously our school district.
Yes. Now, in your career, what are some of the obstacles that you have faced being a Hispanic coach and being in a sport that is definitely African American when we move into the bigger cities? Right. But being obviously in the valley, there's some pockets of strong basketball programs. In Laredo, there's strong pockets. There's some in San Antonio. But what are some of the obstacles and challenges you faced as a Hispanic coach in the basketball world?
Well, I think you hit it right on the nail. Is there's a perception, or there was how, especially in basketball, in any sport, but obviously, in basketball, that teams here in the Valley cannot compete with teams up in San Antonio, up in Austin, up in the College Station area. So my biggest, and I really wouldn't call it a challenge, because my athletes here, they've embraced it. They take on the challenge, but just get them to understand that we can compete with anybody in the state, and we'll get out in out of Valley tournaments and play teams outside the Valley, just so they can understand that we can compete with anybody in the state, and just to believe it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that, most of our, to me, just to get them to understand that it doesn't matter if most of our players are Latinos or Hispanics, that, that does not, that's not, that doesn't determine, wins and losses, and I think that has been the biggest challenge for me, if you want to call it a challenge. But I think for the most part, we've been pretty successful here. I think, we made an Elite Eight run last year, Sweet 16 2 years ago, and then we've gotten to the third round several times here. And not only us, I mean, you see, you're starting to see a lot of teams in the Valley making deeper runs year in and year out. And I think, and I don't want to call it closing the gap, because I don't think there is a gap between us and the rest of the state. It's just we're starting to compete at a higher level. And I think there's great coaches here. I think there's not just in basketball, but there's amazing Hispanic coaches here in the Valley. But most of all, we have amazing Hispanic athletes with a ton of heart here in the Valley, not only here in San Perlita, but in the Valley. And I think that's one thing that you can speak about the Hispanic culture, is that we're all heart. We come from a working hard culture. And I think that translate into athletics. A lot of our players, they come from very hardworking families. And for me personally, I don't have to try very hard to get my players to work hard. I think it comes from their household. They learn it from their parents at home, and we just continue it here on the basketball court or on the field, or whatever we're doing as far as sports is concerned.
I think you made a very interesting point, because oftentimes, being from the Rio Grande Valley and having coached down in the Valley and in the state, we are disrespected in the Rio Grande Valley, or dismissed. And it's not only our region. It would probably be like the Laredo region, right, the El Paso, the predominantly Hispanic communities we tend to be dismissed. And I
Right.
know here in San Antonio, when the Valley teams come up and it's called the Valley Week in
Right. Yep.
football.
I've heard that term too.
It's and if people have never coached in the Valley, they don't understand that the kids are absolutely amazing, but the
Yes.
coaches have to find ways to pull and maximize all of that potential that all of these children have within them.
Right.
And it's a unique experience. So you made an interesting point, because I'm from there. I've traveled all over the state coaching as well, but never had kids like I had when I was never,
Right. No, I completely
never.
agree with
And
you. And that's why I said I think there's some of the top coaches in the state, regardless of sport, are here in the Valley. Because like you said, I mean, we have to find ways, and the players, obviously the players, they have to buy in, but we have to find ways to maximize potential, to come up with game plans and put our student athletes in the best situation to win. But at the same time, I mean, I think what really helps us coaches, and I can speak personally, is it's like I told my players the other day, I can work hard as much as I want, but you guys really are the ones that make me look good. I mean, it's all them. I mean, at the end of the day, I tell them what to do, but they're the ones that perform out there for the school district, for themselves, for their teammates. And I just think that speaks a lot about not only the Valley, but our culture.
mhm.
And that's what I'm most proud of.
Yes, and that culture piece is really cool, and we get to see it in the Valley specifically when doesn't matter who makes it to whatever round, and I'm sure you've seen this as you move deeper into the playoffs. Once there is like one team left in the Valley, everyone comes together
Yeah.
and they
Yep.
support that one team. Can you talk about that a little bit?
I can speak about that, obviously because of our success that we've had over the last years. I mean, we're typically one of the last Valley basketball teams left in the Valley year in and year out, on a consistent basis. And I get so many text messages and phone calls from coaches all over the Valley, and just supporting us, wishing us good luck and how they're behind us. And I'm the same way, when we made our Elite Eight run, it just wasn't us. We had Mac High in the Elite Eight. Santa Rosa was in the Elite Eight. Port Isabel was in the Sweet 16. I wish them all luck as well. And supporting them. And that's one thing about the Valley is that if there's one team left, then the whole Valley embraces it, and it's everybody. It's all the Valley's team. And I've noticed that whatever sport it is, whether it's football, basketball, whatever sport it is, I've noticed it, and I think I really love that part about the Valley, how we support each other. And I think a lot of it, like we've mentioned a couple times in this interview, is because we're proud of our culture and we want our culture, our Hispanic culture, to be successful. And not only that, but I think a part of it is we want to prove to the rest of the state that we can compete against anybody.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, as you progress in your career, and I'm sure you have some mentees as well, some future Latino coaches that want to enter the profession, some young men, young women, what kind of advice would you give them, some words of wisdom to continue to persevere as they enter this profession?
I think, or I know what my first message would be, is, like I've said before, it's all about relationships, and just understanding that, if they're gonna come into coaching, that's first, and something that I've learned through experience. Again, when I first entered coaching, it was because of the love of sport. It wasn't until a couple of years in that I realized what my job truly entailed, and I think that's the message. That's one of the messages I would relay to our Latino culture that want to get into coaching. But most of all, I think I would relay the message is that no matter what you do, no matter what you coach, is get our Latino student athletes, our Hispanic student athletes, to get them to believe that they can accomplish anything just like anyone else, whether it be through sport, whether it be to own a business, whether it to be, once you get into your job, whatever it is that they choose to do, is get them to believe that they can accomplish anything just like anybody else, regardless of culture, regardless of anything, as long as they put their mind to it, and they work hard for it, then anything can be accomplished. And if athletics is our platform to show them that, again, athletics, whether, teach them how to work hard through athletics, to teach them how to put in, how putting in extra time is effective to being successful, then let that be the platform, but relate it to everyday life, how that can relate to once you get out of high school, how those tools can help you be successful. I think that's the most important part. And if you happen to, obviously winning is big, but if you happen to win games along the way, then that's a bonus, that's a plus. I think if you establish those things, winning will take care of itself.
Absolutely. Now, what does it mean to you to be a Latino leader in this profession?
It means a lot to me. Again, and I think for a lot of the reasons that I've said in this interview is I want to relay the message to my student athletes and to our students here in San Perlita ISD, and anybody that's listening to this interview is it means a lot to me to be in this platform, because I have an ability to spread the message that we can be successful as a Hispanic culture and as a Latino culture. And I think, growing up, I came from a very hardworking family. My parents had modest jobs, and we were a migrant. We were a migrant family. As soon as school was over, we'd head out up north and work on the fields. And we were 5 of us. Somehow, some way, our parents always found a way to put food on the table. I was blessed. They always found a way. I always had nice clothes. My siblings always had nice clothes. And I think, I think that's what brought me up to learn how to, my parents instilled in me how to work hard, and if I work hard, I can be successful. And that's just kind of what I want to relay to these student athletes and to everybody in the Valley and all Hispanics that I want to use my platform to show them that we can take on the world.
Yes, I agree with you 100%. And I think that's the underlying theme, that we have a culture that is so rich in hard work, in loyalty, and that loyalty, I think, sometimes is missed by people that are not Latino. They don't understand how far that relationship goes when you go into, and oftentimes you enter these homes of these student athletes that you have. Parents can't speak the same language as you. If you make an attempt to do so, they're going to embrace you because you made the attempt. Right. And you showed them that you were going to meet them. You were going to put yourself in a vulnerable situation and meet them where they were. So I think that's unique to our culture. And I think you're doing some phenomenal work, and you're absolutely correct in showing our culture, our kids, that they can do anything, and believe that they can do anything. And by them getting to the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8, they are being exposed to a whole different world of opportunities. Even just being, when you come to San Antonio, when you leave the Valley and you go to tournaments outside the Valley, those opportunities are priceless. Right. So we continue to thank you and honor you. And one last question. Yes. This can be related to either your family traditions, or maybe a tradition or something that you've started within the basketball program or athletic department there in San Perlita. What is your favorite Latino tradition or Hispanic tradition?
I can't really pick a favorite. Obviously, as the Hispanic culture, we're very big on food and the Hispanic foods, but I think any tradition that celebrates our culture, whether it be Cinco de Mayo, the Christmases that had the tamales, the buñuelos, pozoles, barbacoa. I think any tradition or any event that is held, whether it's statewide, nationwide, whatever it is, that's on a big platform, I love all of those traditions, because it is a chance to celebrate our culture. And obviously the big family gatherings and just playing loud Spanish music and all that. I love all that, there's sometimes that I play Spanish music when we're having our open gyms here, and we're listening to corridos and cumbias and banda and so anything that we can, and even if we have to make excuses to celebrate our culture, I think we should do that too. So I can't pick a favorite. I just love any occasion or any chance we get to celebrate our culture and eat a lot of our culture food.
Now, let me ask you about the food. Do you all host a tournament?
Yes, we do.
So do you showcase some of the food from your culture, from your community in those hospitalities, or do we go with the hamburgers or the?
Well, we have a little bit of everything, but we have we'll make fresh breakfast tacos for the coaches and obviously the workers, and and then we will also have carne guisada, arroz, frijoles, so we do have we'll have Mexican food here as well.
That's awesome. Well, Coach, I appreciate your time. This was so awesome to hear and to share with you. And thank you for sharing just a little bit of your culture there in San Perlita. This is going to be a phenomenal season, I'm sure. You've got basketball's coming around the corner really quickly.
Yes, it is.
It's a fun time. So I appreciate you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me, and you guys continue doing great things like you guys are doing right now.
Thank you, Coach.